Hey guys, welcome back to Contest Prep University. I'm Joe Klemczewski with Adam Atkinson. We are in episode 6 of the Progressive Linear Load series on creating strategy and managing the entire process for your best outcome. And we're switching over talking about the physique and bodybuilding categories where you really do need the kind of massive density and even vascularity. Just you want all the fullness in the world, but you cannot risk losing the detail. And in the last episode, we talked sometimes in bikini and figure where you're almost trying to hide some of that detail if you've got a competitor who's too lean. A problem I'm sure most people would love to have, right? Adam being too lean, but it does happen. But let's talk about these bodybuilders who need the best of both worlds, because this is where I know we have to be aggressive. We got to make sure we don't leave anything on the field when it comes to being full, but you still cannot cross that line into spillover. So I think this is where, as a coach, the progressive linear load, there's just less margin for error. You really have to push for that fullness and know you got as close to that line as you can, but without wrecking the final look and not being able to mitigate from this side of that line. So how do you do it, Adam? How do you get your bodybuilders that full and still perfectly conditioned?
Yeah. So the biggest thing with that is, making sure that you, as you're linear loading, you're managing and watching pictures. So we do 3 times a day. I do this with all my athletes, no matter what division they're in. But I look for some good night fullness. I don't look for my guys to be super shredded at night. I almost want them a little bit worried, like, did we go too far? With guys, you're typically going to see that faster metabolic rate than women. But I'll throw women's physique competitors in here too. I do want to see some shading of detail at night, because I know when they lie down, they're going to be leaner, they're going to be tighter in the morning, and they're going to be flat because they've also, been not drinking water all night, so that makes a big difference. With that being said, when you come up on that on show day, you want to make sure you're aggressive enough the night before. And then you can pivot off of your show day meals if you need to. If they wake up and they have some spillover left, it's typically going to go away pretty quickly, or you can use a little bit of activity in the morning to ward some of that off. And typically I find that works wonderful for a lot of my clients if they wake up too full. I think me and you probably find we change breakfast meals like hardly ever, but it's usually that second or third meal of the show day that we tend to change more often. And we probably change morning activity more than anything else during the first part of the peak week in the morning. So those are huge variables. And then I really rely on salt and water a lot. My client Rocky, when he was going in for the overall, we had spilled over a little bit. And he had had a meal, I think, about 4 hours ago, and it was just a little too much. So I said, I want you to stay backstage with me. I want you to pump up for about 20 minutes. I want you to lay down for 30 minutes, and then I want to look at you again. And he was still slightly spilled over, so I had him pump up a little more. I put a little more salt in, and you could literally see as we kept doing rounds of this that he was pulling more water into the muscle tissue. He was absorbing some of that spillover. And where a lot of the shading was in his legs and glutes, so that's why I had him lay down so much. But by the 3rd time we did this, he was back on the money, and he came in strong for that overall and won it. And I really think had we not done that, we wouldn't have gotten that trophy.
Yeah, and what's interesting there is just from what you started with, as you described, even during the week, days earlier, you're looking for them to almost be spilling over at night so that as you're adding more carbohydrate through the week, through the progressive linear load, that you're reaching that glycogen threshold. And that way, they're going to wake up in the morning tight again. The lymphatic system has worked and you absorb some of that water. But if you're getting that full, you are risking being very close to that line. And I would argue maybe, Adam, that because you had him so perfectly full that maybe one extra little meal on contest day kind of did cross that line, but you were still so close, you could mitigate that. And that's really getting close to the line when you have to even backtrack a step. But I tend to be a little bit more conservative in that I want to see their weight going up. So I may also do morning and evening pictures, morning and evening weight. And I want to see day to day that they're getting fuller and the weight may be going up a little bit. But I'm probably going to be a little bit more hesitant toward the end of the week to reach that total spillover amount. That's kudos to you. That's really great. Just knowing your client and how far they can go. But that's also the value of knowing that client and having been there before. And that's some real value of having a long-term relationship with a client, or just the client knowing themselves and then articulating that to their coach. But that's what you have to do in these more aggressive categories when you need all that fullness, is get right up to that line and then know how to measure and maintain that.
Yeah, one thing I should add, that was our third show within, I think, a 6 or 7 week period. And that was our most aggressive peak week out of all those peak weeks as well. So you're definitely right. We were basically on the verge in one meal from spillover, essentially.
And you're learning that together, which is great. I mean, that's what every coach wants to see with their client is, every single show that season, every season together thereafter, you're just getting better and better together. So this is fun. That's going to be a great story to lead into our final episode, guys. Stay with us as we wrap this up next time. We're going to talk about how to manage your contest prep peak week and contest day, having utilized the progressive linear load.